All right, guys, welcome to Black and Gold, your premier Bruins talk show, presented to you by Chasing Rings, the podcast. We got Kyle, he's sitting back comfy, Luke, Joe, myself, Victor. Guys, you guys know the deal. We're going to give you our best sports takes. We like to individualize it a little bit, talk more about each specific team. We're going to kick it right off with the Bruins. Guys, we're 5-1-1. We did 11 points. We have like the fourth or fifth highest point total in the league. The team is flowing pretty well. I mean, we got shootout wins, we got overtime wins, overtime loss. I mean, we're having fun here, and we're kind of shocked here. So, Kyle, I mean, just tell me right now, how are you feeling? We lost Chara, we lost Krug, Pasta hasn't played yet. I mean, is 5-1-1 kind of what you were expecting, or are we overachieving a little bit?
No, I'm going to pull a Luke term out of my bag here, Tricks, and say this: the Bruins are overachieving for sure right now.
Wow.
Now, that doesn't mean that they're not – they're better. They're not as good as their record, I will say that. But they have pleasantly surprised me this year. A little stat I just want to pull up. The Bruins right now have the highest penalty kill percentage in the league at 93.1%.
No, and that's what they're normally good at. Right.
Yeah.
They're a great power play team on both sides normally in most of like this peak of the last 12, 13 years. So as you're talking about that, are you kind of like, hold on. We lost Chara and Krug and we have the best power play kill in the league?
It's crazy because McAvoy, I think McAvoy's at 10 points right now through 7 games, which I'm like, we talked a little bit about like, he doesn't pass the eye test for me yet. I'm not for whatever reason, maybe it's like a gut feeling. I don't trust McAvoy yet. I mean, I saw him the other night get like torched on a goal where like I think he was trying to, he doesn't cherry pick, but he's definitely an offensive minded defenseman, which is okay until you're trying to get like keep a puck in the zone and then you get burned the other way and then the other team's got a 3-0 or as we saw in Pittsburgh the other day.
He doesn't seem to have that killer mentality yet. Like, you know, he still seems a touch like a kid. Not like a.
I mean, that's the thing. He is youthful, but McAvoy only has 5 points, but that I've seen. But 3 of those are power play points, and 1 is shorthanded. So like, those are difference-making plays. Like if he's part of that, and like we said, they're tops in the penalty kill. They're also top 5 in power play on the offensive side, and as they normally are. Like. Yeah, nothing seems to have changed with like the style of play that they've produced with, which is very exciting to see.
You're right, Luke. I'm sorry, I was looking at it wrong. 5 assists in 7 games. I saw 5 and then the 5 points next to it. Math is never my strong suit. So, but yeah, 5 points in 7 games is still really good.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems like we're moving the puck a little bit. It's funny because when we started the season, the criticism was like, are we going back to like the Claude Julien days of like just dumping the puck and hoping for some magic, gritty, grinding, time of possession, just like weird hockey, like old school hockey. And now it seems like they're moving the puck a little bit better. They're finding the net a little bit more. What do you think clicked? I mean, as far as I know, no one big came back in the, from the first 3 games to the last couple. So it's like, what's starting to click? Are they just starting to gel a little bit more? Are they adjusting? What do you guys think is really making it transition a little bit better?
I mean, yeah, go ahead, Kyle.
I was just going to say, what I've noticed after like the first 3 games, they were playing like low scoring. They couldn't score at all like the first 3 games. And like I was worried, everyone was worried, like, they were missing Pasta. They're saying he's a good chance to play tomorrow, Saturday at the time of this recording against Big Z and win the Caps. So that's great because they're already clicking. They're already like humming lately with the offense. So to get, I mean, arguably their best player, at least their best scorer back is going to be huge for them. But to me, the biggest difference this year has been the neutral zone, where like for the longest time in the first 3 games too, the Bruins, I don't know what it is, they could not get into the offensive zone to save their life. They're always struggling. It seems like teams are always having like a really successful back check against us, where it's like, how many times have you seen the Bruins turn the puck over in their own zone and like leading to bad goals or just opportunities or they can't get it out? They've been really good with that this year. And the defense has been really clean, which is surprising because like it's really McAvoy's defense right now. And then like a bunch of guys are filling in. So like Grizzlick, I know, has been hurt. My guy, Kevin Miller, who I called like an X factor, I think before the year when we like way back when before we did the show, He's looked really good, I think. So like guys are stepping up. Trent Frederick offensively has been good for the
I
Bruins.
think Nick Ritchie has stepped up. I think he's been playing well.
Richie, Craig Smith has been phenomenal. Smitty, he's been really good. So like they have guys. The Bruins for a few years have like failed plugging in guys, and I think like this year, like they have got new faces in there, but they're hitting on those guys so far. Now some of that is overachieving, I think, but like I'm sure they'll come back down to earth. But I think what they're doing is good, and they're just the passing is a lot more crisp, and they're not having trouble in the neutral zone, which means they're getting in there. They're spending more time. They're not looking for the perfect shot all the time. They still do struggle with this, but like I can't stand when we got like a power play and it's like pass. And like when we were in the Garden, I'm sure you guys have been to games where it's like people are saying like shoot the puck. Like I've literally been in the balcony screaming like shoot the puck because they'll have a 2-minute power play and spend a minute and a half of it trying to pass looking for that perfect shot. So they've been better with that. They still struggle a little bit, but I think it's a little.
No, they've been putting the puck at the net way more, and I think you see that in like how their offense is looking. Is like they've had nice breakaways, they've had nice defensive plays leading to shorthanded goals. Like Marchand's looked great this year, but in the offensive zone, like they are moving the puck and they are putting it on net, and not only that is they're putting it in the front of the net from close range. Like they're looking for each other in the front of the net, and that's been the biggest difference in my opinion. Like they look faster, but they look crisper. The offense looks completely different to me. It's no more pump and dump. Like it's
agreed.
We're trying to score.
I agree. So Joe, we're averaging less than 2 goals per game between. I know Halak has technically played a little bit better than Tuukka.
Definitely, I definitely agree with that.
So are you kind of surprised that like the goals allowed, considering we lost Zdeno Chara, our captain of 10 plus years, and Torrey Krug in the same season? Is this kind of shocking to you, or did you expect that from a Bruins old school mentality? Like, which way would you lean on that?
That we're at that we're only allowing such few goals. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like obviously, like
I
we all would
expected that. I figured we allow much more than we did in the last 3 or 4 seasons. I figured that it would take some time for McAvoy and them McAvoy and Carlo to really get into their true leadership roles as defensemen to get the rest of the guys going. Apparently, I feel like it's give and take between the goalie, the goaltender, and the defenseman, right? But like you said about Halak, I think right now I'm going with him. His save percentage is better. I know he's only played like a couple less games and one less game than Tuukka, but I think it's they're feeding off each other. The goalie's feeding off the defense feeding off the goalie.
I think they're also rallying around the defense. Like the defense is rallying around the goalie, and they're producing. So one stat that really stuck out at me was the Bruins are the top in the least amount of shots against per game, which is 100% contributing to their goals against. And their the goalie's goals against. So I agree with Kyle on that point. I don't think we've been tested, but as far as overproducing, I don't think the offense is going to stop. I think it's just going to get better when Pasta comes back.
Now,
go ahead.
And like just to defend that stat a little bit, Luke, not allowing shots is kind of an unstatistical statistic. Like it's something you can't record, meaning the defense is doing a great job closing out, right? Like when you play against the Rockets in basketball, if you close out on the threes and you don't allow them to take as many threes, they can't score as many. So that means the defense is moving very well in closing out opening opportunities. One thing that I just looked at, guys, we've only scored 20 goals this season. That puts us at 17th overall in goals scored. That's a little concerning to me considering our record. I think that goes right back to Kyle's point of we're overachieving right now. I mean, 5-1-1 with only 20 goals scored, 17th in the league, and the shots against as well. I don't know if this is a sustainable dynamic or strategy to win going forward. Luke, there's obviously some bright spots, but do you agree that this is a little bit of an overachievement, or do you think that this philosophy right now might not be sustainable long term?
I think it's sustainable. I think we saw very interesting games with the Penguins. The Penguins, it was a crazy stat. They've had now after the 2 games with us, they've entered the third period in a deficit for like the entire year, which is mind blowing considering they have a winning record. Mind blowing. Yeah. But we have the ability to sustain this, and I think what really spoke to me was the first 2 periods of the first Penguins game. We were all over them. We were nonstop attacking. We had the lead, and then in the third period, you saw it slow, and that was because we were tired. I think if the Bruins are able to manage their pace better, we can sustain that for 3 periods. We can sustain that for the season, barring injuries, and I think Pasta back will help that.
Yeah. So, Kyle, what would you say is kind of the brightest like spot of what's going on in this team right now? 5-1-1. What's kind of like keeping the engine running? What are you most happy about that you've seen?
I can't even believe I'm saying this. I'm like the biggest Tuukka Rask hater. Like, I hate Tuukka Rask. Tuukka Rask has been phenomenal this season. I think it was the Penguins game. There was one game in overtime, maybe the Philly game, like the best I've ever seen him played. Now, he's always a good regular season goalie usually. I think what we were talking about earlier, just to not to put water on that, but I think the Bruins last year had the fewest goals allowed. So like this isn't necessarily a new thing, but like it's their philosophy I think is different this year. Rask has been the surprise for me. And that's kind of weird to say because he's been such a good regular season goalie. And then that also with like the penalty kill, like I mentioned earlier, where it's like, I don't know, just 93% is ridiculous. And especially against the Penguins. The Penguins game stuck out to me because you look at the Penguins, man, and like they're not what they used to be, but like you look at that roster and they still have Crosby, they still have Malkin, they still have Letang. Like that's the big 3 right there. And like just watching that game, the Bruins did a really good job of shutting them down. And it's like if they can shut down those guys, they're not really in their primes anymore. But like, I mean, that's still a whole lot of talent on the ice. So yeah. I think to agree with Luke's point, I think it is sustainable. I think they just need to kind of keep playing with the puzzle there. We mentioned it, yeah. Craig Smith has been good. Grizzly.
I think Marchand is still light.
Marchand is outrageous.
Points, goals, and assists, with the exception of Bergeron, he leads the team in all and time on ice. Like he's our guy. He was our guy last year. I know Pasa's a crazy scorer and Bergeron, but Marchand, in my opinion, just that gritty, neat, like he has that like tough guy mentality, but he can still score.
Yeah, he's an animal. He's a hockey player. He's a hockey player. That's why I think Pasta getting back will definitely help the offense.
I agree with that, Luke. You know, obviously 5-1-1, it's like, what are you going to pick on, right? But we're not here, you know, to win regular seasons. We're here chasing rings. We know that, right? What do you think is the weakest spot of what's going on with the Bruins? What do they need to work on the most to really make this sustainable?
I mean, turnovers. The most frustrating thing I had last year is watching them and these stupid turnovers, especially when it's in the opponent's offensive zone, when it's in their defensive zone, and the Bruins have possession. Those turnovers are so hurtful, especially I think it makes the whole team look bad, but I think Tuukka is very susceptible to letting up those goals in those positions with like quick change of possessions. So we need to cut down on the sloppiness, increase the, control of the puck, stop turnovers. Otherwise I'm going to scream. Like I can't stand when they turn it over in the zone.
It's funny. We brought up Pasternak. And it's like we talked about Kemba on our Tommy Points show, and Luke and I were both concerned that he's going to create a wrinkle in the Jays' offense, and we saw it a little bit last game. Pasta coming back, it's like, get this man back. Like, let's go. He's got 50 goals in him. Like, let's go. Because it changes the dynamic of our offense when you have 3 guys of that caliber, like you were just talking about with the Penguins, Kyle. I mean, when you have a 3-headed monster like that in hockey, it should be borderline unstoppable. And if the defense keeps doing what they're doing, we take care of the puck better, like Luke said. I mean, who knows, right? Like, it seems like right now we're going to be buyers at the deadline, and we're going to look to add to this team. We're going to make a run. But it's a little too early, so let's not jump ahead of ourselves, but let's look ahead anyway. So we got the Capitals back-to-back. We got them tomorrow night. We got the Flyers back-to-back, and then we got Buffalo, guys. I mean, this is, for me, in my mind, this is a big – run of games, especially when you really think about they're all in your division, or literally all of them are in your division. I always forget the Sabres. what do you think is a good outcome for these next 5 games, especially with Pasta coming back? Are we looking at 3-2, 4-1? Like, what would you guys be content with? Are we worried about, the Capitals beating up on us? What's your guys' thoughts?
Should be worried about the Flyers and the Capitals. They're both really good teams.
It's a tough stretch, yeah.
I mean, we'd be lucky to, split games, in my opinion. I mean, not lucky, but I think we split games.
Yeah,
I don't think we come out there dominating both teams back to back. The Sabres are okay. They're 500.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild with this condensed schedule because very rarely do you see one on, one off, one on, one off for a stretch of time. It goes one on, one off, one on, one off, one off, one off, one off, and then back to back. It's like 5 games in 7 days. I mean, that's wild. It really is. It's a big stretch for hockey. It's going to be taxing on this team. And you know what? I'm kind of glad Chara isn't a part of it. Guys like Krejci and Bergeron, they're going to be feeling it a little bit. So hopefully our legs hold up. I think we're going to split both doubleheaders with Washington and the Flyers. I think both teams are good enough to get each other at least once. And I think we're going to get a big bounce back against Buffalo, but it's going to be low scoring on Saturday against Buffalo. It's going to be a back-to-back after 4 tough games. It's going to be like a 2-1 game, and it's going to be a grind. Even though we should win, pretty comfortably against Buffalo, I think that's going to be a grind. It's going to cap it off. And 3-2, you know what? I'd be happy with that. Luke, are you happy with 3-2 on this stretch?
Yeah, I think it's a great test. 3-2 is if we win we win out or come out on top, I'm definitely happy.
Yeah. Kyle?
I'm going to go over. I'm going to say they're going to go 4-1 in the stretch. And this is a brutal stretch.
That means they're winning two games against one of those two.
I think they're winning both games against the Caps, and I think they'll split with the Flyers.
Woo! Look at you. Now, They do have – did they play last night?
Where is it? Is it in Washington?
They're all road games except for Buffalo. So at Washington, at Philly. They play the Flyers, I think, 8 times this year. The most they've ever played Philly in a season, in a shortened season. I'm like, come on now. But I think they're kind of doing it with COVID, and they're trying to lessen travel. So I get it. But
and they could play well against the Caps and the Flyers, but those two teams are battles. So they could beat up on us. Then entering Buffalo games, that's when we might have some issues, even though Buffalo.
Yeah, you played down to the competition after you've had a long week. Yeah, that's why I think it's going to be a tough win. So I want to ask you guys, it's our first time really diving into the Bruins. So let's be real. We're from Boston. We're very spoiled with rings and trophies and banners. But we only have one. We're 1 for 3 here with this stretch of Bruins. Knowing we lost Chara and Krug, and we didn't add too much centerpieces, like big names. What's the expectation of the season? I mean, we kind of had letdown after letdown, especially after last year, winning the President's Trophy and then, again, knocked out pretty easily by Tampa. What's your guys' thoughts for this season to be a success? Is it Stanley Cup or bust? Like, for me, I'd like to see us, make the semis, conference championship, and I'd probably be happy with this team because I think we are on the downward trend. What do you guys think? Obviously I want the ring. We're chasing rings. We know that, but I just don't think it's in the realistic cards.
I disagree. I'm in on this team. I wasn't at the start of the season. I'm in on this team for the Stanley Cup. I think they have what it takes to get there. I think goaltending being there will help. I mean, we didn't have Tuukka last year. He bailed. I shouldn't say bailed. He had family concerns. But I think this team still has the ability to get there. It's going to be a tougher road for sure with this team than it was last year. But yeah, we can get there for sure.
And
I'm on them.
Based off of your ideology of this game, Luke, or this team right now, I agree that the grinding is much more sustainable than high offense scoring because grinding takes physicality, effort, and hustle. It doesn't take talent, obviously some talent, but you know what I mean? It takes heart and great determination. That's something that it is all up here. So even when you're mentally having an off day or physically having an off day, you can put that effort in. So I think it's potentially sustainable. I just don't know if we're going to have the offense to get past the real elite teams in this league. Kyle, what do you think? Sorry, Kyle, what do you think? Stanley Cup or bust?
Yeah, I just real quick. Tampa is still the one team that just a mismatch for the Bruins. So I don't know. it's funny because hockey is kind of like, I was watching the other night and I was like, hockey really is like all these individual little battles. Kind of reminds me of football in a way where it's like, but you look on the ice and it's like, man, the Bruins are most successful when they're winning those little battles. And it's like, we win the battle in the corner, you win the battle around the boards. It's like, win the battle at the blue line. It's like hockey's all about these little, it's like, they say bounce of a puck, right? Where it's like a lot of times the best team, the team that has the most shots, doesn't end up winning the game because hockey is so close where it's like, it's just that little, it's like, you see those crazy replays, right? Where it's like, I mean, I think of the Tim Thomas save in 11 where he's got the stick out, the craziest save I've ever seen. But like that's what hockey comes down to sometimes. It's like that guy was just a little bit off. So he didn't get the goal because he was like literally like centimeters away. With that being said, it's so close. I think, I don't know. I'm with Luke. I like going into this year, man, I've had trouble trusting this team. But like something I wrote down here. So going back to 2011, right, the last 10 years of Bruins hockey, they won the cup in 11, great. Then they lost in the East quarters, I think, to Washington that year. That was disappointing, obviously. Then they went to the Stanley Cup against Chicago, and they exploded at the end there. So that's a successful season, and we're like, oh, they're going to be back. Well, they did get back, but not against the Blues. So a cup win, a East quarterfinals loss, a cup loss. Then the East semis lost. Then they missed the playoffs in back-to-back years, which I kind of forgot about in 15 and 16. And I'm like, wow, we think the Bruins have been like, if nothing else, this regular season team for the last 10 years. And then you think like there's a big gap there where it's like for 2 years, the Bruins did not make the playoffs. And that's surprising. Then sorry. I'm just going to say, and then they went to East quarters and they lost. Then the East semis they lost, and they got back to the final against the Blues, which is the worst one I think so far. And then last year the East semis. So like they haven't gotten out of the second round outside of the 2 years where they went to the Cup. This team has kind of conditioned me to like put a guard up. Where like I say all the time, like I don't trust the Bruins, and so I had my doubts going into this year. But I'm with Luke where like I don't know, man, just something about this year. They just look like they're playing a different style. The guys are fitting in. It's not the same Bruins hockey that I've seen. Like Tuukka has impressed me, and like I don't know if I'm ready to go full blown in on Tuukka yet, but like I just have.
All right, so Stanley Cup or bust? Is that what you're saying?
I think you have to, right? They can't lose every year, can they? They gotta hit one of these times. Like they gotta get one more cup before this core is done. Like,
well, Red Sox lost like 87 years in a row, so that's not necessarily true.
That's true.
So, what is your expectations for the Boston Red Sox? I mean, Bruins, who can't win a Stanley Cup. What are your true expectations?
To say Stanley Cup or bust, it's like, well, that's how good they are. What have they played 7 total games, right? To me, it's still a little early. I think we're also forgetting about the competition. Toronto, Tampa, Washington, those teams are like Toronto is unbelievable. And for us to get, but we have to get by these teams every year to go to the Stanley Cup. And the Bruins are the Bruins. It's always usually 6 or 7 game series. I mean, I think we're just underestimating the talent on the opposition for at least right now. The Bruins are playing well. They're playing up. The goaltending is playing well. In a month or so, let's see how they are, and we'll compare them to them then. But for now, to me, I don't see any difference besides, Eastern Conference, and then we get bumped again. Like, there needs to be some sort of flash in like something that separates us.
We'll know where we are. Not exactly where we are, but we'll know where we're headed after this stretch.
I agree.
Like Flyers are at the top in the league right now with us. So like these are tests. We'll see what we're made of. And if Pasta's back too, granted he's just coming back from injury, so he might not be 100% or at least game shape. But like we'll see how our offense is going to look at full form, and it's gonna be fun, boys. It's gonna be very fun.
Yeah, big measuring stick week for sure.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, we got the Capitals tomorrow night. Hopefully, we start this trip off right, get a W, and see what happens from there. Guys, thank you for joining me. This is Black and Gold, brought to you by Chasing Rings, the podcast. This is our Bruins Premier Talk Show. We got Tommy Points. We'll have a Patriots show, Road to 55. We got it all for you guys. Keep watching. We'll keep it coming. We appreciate you guys. Thank you.